Welcome, welcome, welcome. Of course, to Football Uncut. Of course, I'm Jonah Willett, my partner in crime, Clayton Guillory, already in Charlotte, holding it down for the Carolinas, eating Carolina barbecue. Of course, if you follow Clay on Facebook, you see he did the Waffle House check-in. He has
Got to.
a affinity for Waffle Houses. If y'all want Clay to come visit your city, just give him the local Waffle House location. He's there. He go check in.
I gotta have it. I gotta have it, man. You know, that's one of the bad things about living in San Antonio, man. They don't have a Waffle House, which is the stupidest shit in the world to me, Jonah. But hey, if you got a Waffle, I am a Waffle House connoisseur. I visit all the Waffle Houses and I can rate them. I can rate the top 10 Waffle Houses in the United States of America because I'm moving like that, right? I gotta have it, dog.
So listen, Clay, on a Clay Waffle House menu check-in, what's your go-to when you go to Waffle House? What's your go-to?
Man, I go with the All-Star, man. It's simple. See, I tell the waitress when she walk up, it's like, what would you like? I said, ma'am, I don't need that menu. I'm a professional. You understand? Give me a high C orange, All-Star egg scrambled with bacon. I don't need no hash browns. Give me grits, and I want a regular waffle. Boom. We done. Just that easy. There's nothing else for us to even talk about. Nothing for us to even talk about.
Oh man.
Well,
listen,
man.
if it's any people in South Carolina right now, I'll be touching down tomorrow. Clay, we need to know the hot spots to eat. Where's the soul foods? Y'all check in with us. Let us know where we can get some good food in Charlotte, man. Let us know what the get down is, man. So we're getting ready to have an exciting weekend at Charlotte this weekend as we get ready to kick off our preseason series. Charlotte, of course. Our next stop will be in Houston and DMV. And let me tell you, those things are just planning to be a crazy, crazy lineup, man. So, listen, Clay, big matchups happen this weekend. But before we start talking about big matchups that's coming up, let's talk about some matchups that took place the following week, this week that just went past, which we kind of feel that it kind of shapes up what we kind of doing as we get ready to drop the rankings after our last week in DMV. Let's talk about the 12 and under matchup. 12 and under matchup, Miami Gardens Ravens went up to Southfield Falcons and went up to Detroit, played Southfield Falcons. Ravens were up 16-0 at the half. Okay? Number
Crazy,
9
right?
for the Ravens, just really having his way against that Southfield's defense. Every time he wanted to break containment and hit the outside, he was able to do it. A lot of speed from number 9. We saw him really get off against the OG Ducks the previous week, and he had a stellar performance the first half. But then the first half was different tales of two teams. 16-0 they go up. Number 9 gets hurt. When number 9 for the Ravens gets hurt, it looks like the offense for the Miami Gardens Ravens looked like they were a little lost. I don't know if it was play calling where they were just really having him used to be the central part of that offense, or if it really just was an energy letdown when they saw one of their best players go down, that the energy kind of changed and Southfield just started building those points back up. But you got to give credit to Southfield Falcons. They were able to come in there, adjust, shut down the rest of what the Ravens could do the second half, and put an array of points up themselves. So 2 different halves. First half goes to Ravens, but unfortunately for the Ravens, it's 4 quarters of football. But, of course, there's a big matchup coming up this week with Southfield, but kind of break down that Ravens game or how you saw the matchup between the Miami Gardens Ravens and Southfield Falcons at the 12 and under this week.
It was interesting because once I watched the Ravens when they played the OG Ducks, and based on that game, Jonah, they looked really good. They looked like they were very dynamic. The kids looked like they played with a lot of enthusiasm. They were flying to the ball. I mean, offensively, they did any and everything that they wanted to. But again, like you said, started the game like that against Southfield, but then without number 9, it changed everything. So, that's very, I'm not going to say weird. It just seemed off for me because a traditional Miami Raven Rod Mack coach team, there's normally several different offensive weapons, right? So when number 9 goes down, I'm thinking, okay, that next guy is about to stand up, or that next guy is about to come to the light, man. And nobody really put the team on their back. Nobody stepped up to the plate and said, hey, I'm that guy. And like you said, it could have been a number of things. It could have been play calling. The kids could have just been, all out of whack because they just saw one of their homeboys, one of their friends, get hurt. But, it'll be interesting to see how that team bounces back going forward. Now, we talk about, Southfield. That second half looked very good for them. That large, front that they have, offensively and defensively, controlled the line of scrimmage, and they just wore them down the second half. The question is, will that offensive line and that defensive line be able to do the same thing to the number one 12U team in the country, Rare Breeds? Lately, rare breeds has been a hot topic. Whether if you love rare breeds or hate rare breeds, right? It's been a hot topic because the people that love rare breeds are talking about how dynamic they've been looking with the addition of the new receiver that used to be a TME. B, he's
Right.
out there killing it. But then the haters are trying to shoot shots at it. You know what I'm saying? Everything from the ex coach to even the teammates is kind of shooting slugs a little bit. And I know it's all in fun because I know that kid with that coach and those players, they still family, right? So it's all in fun. But as we all know, what makes a joke funny, Jonah? The truth behind the joke. So the question
Yeah.
is, man, what is that game gonna look like this weekend? Will Southfield be able to be as effective against a proven winner like your two-time YNC national champion Rare Breeds?
Yeah. Well, absolutely. So I think really Southfield Falcons got the taste of a new improved Ravens team. We know this Ravens team has been a team in the works. They were, I think, battling for third place last year in the AYF. And Southfield Falcons definitely the AYF champions. But then Rare Breeds has just been ahead above the rest of the 12 U's as close as that they came. Of course, had a loss against OG Ducks last year. Didn't have their offensive coordinator on the West Coast. But when they've been fully loaded, they've just really been untouchable. I'll never forget the game they played in the YNC championship against SED. Before you blink, the first 5 times they touched the ball, they were in the end zone. And before you know, the game was out of
Yep.
control. A lot of people I know are putting emphasis on the new kid, B-Fire, which they should. The kid's 6'2", a phenom. But, with the old workhorse, I think is the X factor is Watts. This kid, every time, he played, we streamed him last week. Every time he touched the ball, I think he only had like 4 or 5 carries. But those 4 or 5 carries, he was electrifying. And that puts a lot of pressure on the defense because, of course, B5, they say they're going to play him one-on-one. You got to put a safety on the top. You'll be committing suicide if you don't. But when you put a safety over the top, that means that's going to be one less linebacker in youth football to contain this kid Watt. So there's a lot of different weapons that, and here's another thing. Rare Breeds rotate almost 3 quarterbacks. So it's hard to get a feel as a defensive end or defensive lineman because when you got one quarterback to study, you usually can study his drop steps. He's going to take a 3-step drop. I can meet at the quarterback at this angle. But it's kind of hard when you kind of switch in that. It's like a switch picture all the time. You don't know which quarterback is going to be in. So, we can talk about it right now. We're going to talk about some picks, some pick'ems as we come up here. I think the matchup is going to be a heavyweight match. I think the energy is going to be crazy. But in my opinion, it's just a lot to stop. I think that they'll be overwhelmed by the second quarter with Rare Breeds, multiple weapons. I think Southfield is extremely talented. I think they're the best in their division in the AYF that they can offer. They proved a lot to me, seeing them come back and jump back in the game against the Ravens. But if you just look at this Rare Breeds team, it's just a lot to stop. If I was a defensive coordinator, where do you pick and choose? Where do you double? What do you try to pinch down on? What type of gap control do you have on the line of scrimmage? Do you do pass rushing lanes? Do you try to collapse the pockets? Do you try to do run blitzes to stop Watts? There's a lot of guessing you're going to have to do. And I don't want to kind of seem over the top with it, but I think Rare Breeds wins this game at least 28-6. Not just because it'll be easily contested or that Southfield's not up to the task. I'm just saying just for individual matchups, wide receivers against DBs, linebackers against the running backs, and then vice versa. This is what Rare Breeds doesn't really get talked about. The defense of the Rare Breeds, the linebackers of the Rare Breeds, how to collapse it. So let's break this down, Clay, because last week they played RDU, which at the time had one of the best running backs, which I think is in the 12U division, Legacy. Legacy is a beast. Now, they made him look pedestrian. He couldn't get out the backfield. He may have had 30 yards rushing. Then he goes and plays a game the following week, which we'll talk about in a second. We'll break it down in the show, and rushes for about 300 yards and a half. So that kind of shows you how that defense can bottle up some talented players. And after evaluating the Southfield offense, I see mostly what they went to was a lot of nine routes, which they went up to, which there's some great DBs. You talk about Badger, that he's licking his chops to get that one-on-one opportunity to get those balls, and he plays on that side where the quarterback throws a lot. And then besides that, they were doing Wildcat, with opened up against the Ravens, was going right up at the teeth of the Ravens defense. I don't think that offense works against the Rare Breeds defense. I think if you're going to do a Wildcat and have a quarterback running at the Rare Breeds, you're going to be in for a long night. So that's why I come up with a 28-6 prediction: Rare Breeds over Southfield this weekend.
I think I agree with you. I think Rare Breeds wins this game pretty easy. And I'll give you my score prediction after the breakdown. But the things that kind of stick out to me is that as I've watched Southfield, it seems like that they want to slow the pace of the game down. They're not,
Yeah,
running a lot hurry up offense. Quarterback is taking his time, getting to play from the coach and et cetera, et cetera. And the one thing that I think that they will see is that the speed and the continuity that Rare Breeds have. Everything they do is efficient and it's quick. Very rarely are they
yeah,
going to give the Southfield defense coordinator an opportunity to really kind of sit back and analyze and make an adjustment. Now, you did talk about a very important point that I have to agree with you 100% on, and it is the defense of the Rare Breeds. Last week, when I said Rare Breeds was going to beat RDU 34-0, everybody told me I was crazy. But the reality is it was very close to 34-0. That
yeah.
defense is that good. And the great thing about it is the defense is great off of team speed. Look how many
That's
helmets are
it.
on every tackle that you see. 90% of those tackles, it's two or three guys on the tackle. It's not just one guy. And I can honestly say that I believe that's the philosophy that they teach because I've seen that exact same scheme of defense. I've seen the exact same style of tackling from a different team with the same name as Rare Breeds and same coaching staff, right? So I think that this thing, man, I think, once people, the best way to say it, Jonah, is, everybody, everybody has an opinion until they really facing it. I mean, and
Yeah,
I think we're all that way. Like my man that came on here and told them they was finna beat Voodoo 30-0, and it was 30-0, but the score was flipped the other way. I think the
right.
same thing right here with Rare Breed. Now, not taking any credit away from Southfield, man. I think that they are an excellent team. I think the coaching staff is magnificent. And I think that these guys really understand X's and O's and how football is played. But what I think that
Yeah,
they're going to be lacking is that there's a difference in speed between Rare Breeds and Southfield, and I'm talking about all 22 guys on the field, not just one or two. And there's a reason why people say if you come to the YNC, you better have a track team ready, from your starter all the way down to the guy that gets minimal reps, right? So I see this game playing in Rare Breed's favor with a score of 34-6. I'm not going to disrespect Southfield and say they won't score, but I think Rare Breeds is going to get hot. This is one of those games where I know Coach Mark and staff they want to make a statement. They want to prove a point because there's been a lot of jaw jacking. So I think they're going to do everything they can to try to widen this gap as much as possible.
Man, and Rare's gonna have a busy weekend. So they play down south in Savannah on Friday. Then they're gonna get on a plane, jump up, and come up to Charlotte. Man, that talk about the matchup they have coming up here in Charlotte.
So on Sunday, you got Rare Breeds, our YNC Division One champion, versus Boynton Bulldogs, our YNC Division Two champions, right? And that's going to be an interesting matchup because again, it's a Georgia Florida matchup, so that always has a lot of hype. But then also too, there was a little bit last year, right? What would Boynton had done if they would have been able to be in D1 with Rare Breeds? And that's the thing that we've tried to create, with this Division One versus Division Two matchup, because I believe a lot of people will see that the gap is a lot closer than most people think when we're talking about champions. I'm willing to
Right.
take our Division Two champions over a lot of other organizations or a lot of other platforms' Division One champions. And I think this is going to be another example where we can really show right how close or how far apart the two divisions are, and it's going to vary from age level to age level. I do think that Red Breeze will be victorious in this game, but I do think that playing that high level, high intensity game that they're about to play against Southfield, and then coming, to Charlotte to play Division II champion, there shouldn't be a letdown, but kids are going to be kids, right? They watch social media, they see the internet. Obviously, they're going to think mentally, hey, this Southfield game is supposed to be tougher than this Boynton game, and I think they might get shocked, man. I think we're gonna get a close game here at the YNC. I say 20-14, Rare Breeds.
Man, Clay, they gonna run you up out of Charlotte. Talking about
Just telling
20
you,
to
man.
14.
Telling you, man, 20-14. Jonah, they're gonna be on such a high
Oh,
after dominating Southfield that they're gonna come down here. Coach Mark and his whole staff, they're gonna be out all night. The kids gonna be, they're gonna be on the red eye plane, jamming it up, this and that. Man, they're not gonna really rest. They're gonna come down here and they're gonna have to pull it out last minute, 2014, man, against Boynton. Boynton is gonna be focused.
oh man. So Clay is selling tickets to get y'all up here to Charlotte, obviously. Let's start with I don't really see. I haven't evaluated the offense that I think, and I'm gonna go back to what you said, team speed. Right? I watched number 9 from the Miami Garden Ravens against Southfield, and when he hit it, he hit it. He sprayed him for 70 yards, 60 yards. So that just indicates to me you got to have somebody who can get up on that horse and go get him, right? Don't sleep on RDU. Even don't look at the point spread. Let me just point out some things to you right now. Usually when Watts hits the open field, you can count those points. He did against SED every time he got past the line of scrimmage or past the second wave, past the linebackers, he was in the end zone. He had some big breaks against RDU, but he didn't break it all the way for a 78. He got ran down, which means RDU has team speed. Some of that Georgia speed may not be the most popular name in it, but they have some players on that other side of the football. RDU will beat a lot of football teams. Don't sleep on them. Just don't think because Rare Breed dismantled them that team is suspect. They're not by a long shot. Whenever you have legacy on your roster, you have a chance to win besides the other players. So what I'm saying to you, I didn't see that team speed for Southfield when 9 got out on his horse and hit it. Nobody was able to go get him. So if I had to say number 9 or Watts in a foot race, I got to go with Watts. Watts has been doing this for years. This is not, everybody just looking at Rare Breeds now, but this kid has been doing small in size. You look at the quarterback, you look at BA, you look at and then you talk about B5. Honestly, this man, we posted him on Instagram, and it's just he went viral because of what he can do individually. So, again, not to harp on Rare Breeds, but Boynton, if I had to score predict, man, Boynton, no disrespect. We appreciate you. I love you, Division II champs, but it's 40-0 all day.
Come on, Jonah,
It's
man.
just,
Come on,
I'm going to say
man.
this. Hear me out on this, Clay. Hear me out. The difference between Division II is a lot closer from 6U, 7U, 8U. It's almost interchanging until you get to someone like Voodoo because nobody want to play Voodoo, right? But 6U, 7U, those Division Ones, they're gonna be in dogfights. When you start getting up to, you start talking about Georgia Eagles at the 10U. You start talking about Lambeau at the 11U. You start talking about Rare Breeds at the 12U. You know what I'm saying? We'll talk about this DA 13 in a minute. You know what I'm saying? We gonna go there. But you start looking at those teams, Clay, 6 to 7 to 8 to 9, no to 8. Okay, I'll give you a touchdown or two. We in a dogfight. You flip that switch from 9 up, man. We three touchdowns or better. There's a reason you're in Division 1, you're Division 2.
So I agree with you, Jonah. Here's why I say the game would be closer. And the reason I say the game would be closer is based off of this. I believe that they're going to use so much in the Southfield game, and not because they're going to have to, but just because there's so much animosity to prove to the other champs and to everybody else who are naysayers, right? I think they're going to use so much energy on that the boys are going to come down for the Boynton game, and it's
Yeah.
going to be almost like a trap game for them, right? They're going to make a few mistakes. They're going to laugh it off because they know they can flip the switch at any time and turn it back on. And it's going to be a lot closer game than people say. Now, I agree with you. If both of these teams was playing each other on Saturday fresh, then yeah, we'd probably be looking at a 34-40 to shithouse type event for Rare Breeds. But I do
Right.
think that this game that they're going to have against Southfield is going to play into Boynton's favor, and it's going to make the game closer. I still think Rare Breeds is going to finish the weekend 2-0, but that Boynton game is going to be closer than people expect.
Okay, well, I could give you that. I could see that being what we call a trap game, and then I'll stay corrected, which I think is another close age group, just because I think this specific age group, Clay, is tight all the way around. Let's talk about 10U. This is one that, even though Division One, Division Two can be a lot tighter, because if you look at the 10U division and you look at the top 10, anyone could win any specific weekend. And I won't say that our Georgia Eagles is a great team, but are they going to be a clear front runner to win every single game? We've seen close games between them and Rare City or Twin City. Comes down between the touchdown and this. So, there's a lot of diversity in the 10 and under. So if we were talking about Division One and Division Two, I think that may be a closer game because the talent level is really close in the overall in 10 and under. And I'll tell you this. I think West Orlando Jags should be a D1 team after
So
evaluating
let's
them this
talk
year.
about facts, but let's talk about facts from
Yeah,
last year, Jonah. Technically, West Orlando should have been a Division One team. They were Division Two because there were some rules that were not followed. Correct, they were given some false information. So of course they took the penalty for that, right? And had to whatever. But here's the thing. I agree with you. When I watched them in the Division Two national championship last year, I said to myself and to the staff on the field, I was like, man, this team is damn good. I am actually super excited to see this game. That's why it's the 7:30 game on Saturday night here in Charlotte, man. I think this game is going to have a lot of eyes on it. I think as people are jumping from the different lives around the country, because you got some really great games all over the country, I think people are going to, maybe at halftime of another game or flipping through games, they're going to jump on this live if they're not here. And they're going to say, ooh, shit, y'all. We got a show going
yeah.
down in Charlotte because you've got some electrifying players with the Georgia Eagles. You've got electrifying players with West Orlando, man. Two great coaching staffs. And you know as well as I know, when you have Georgia and Florida going against each other, best of the best, it's some good shit talking going too, man. I can't wait for this one, Jonah.
Well, listen, I like the Georgia Texas matchup at the 11 and under. Let's not sleep on that. RCU handled their business out in Texas last week, showed their electrifying on there. Of course, Lambeau is Lambeau. Coach Howard has just been continuing this streak, showing his dominance, the closest that he's ever, had a dogfight with. Of course, we already know the Fort Lauderdale Hurricanes. But let's do predictions now. You're a Texas man, okay? Put you on the spot.
Well, then we got to give a prediction on the Eagles and Jaguars then before we switch
Oh,
gears.
okay. You're right. But rewind. Okay. All right. Everybody chime in right now. Georgia Eagles, West Orlando Jags. Drop y'all prediction right now. I don't care if Rail on here or not. Rail is media Rail now. He ain't a coach. Y'all don't hurt. If y'all
Yeah,
feel West
right.
Orlando
Media
finna come with
rail.
a win, you know what I'm saying? He's media Rail right now. West Orlando Jags or Georgia Eagles. Are the Georgia Eagles primed for an upset here? They both traveling to a neutral spot. West Orlando Jags feel they got something to prove. And the Georgia Eagles, listen, they the champs. You got to come up there and knock the champ out. Champ, it ain't. You can't leave it to the refs. They're gonna have to come out there and knock them out. So everybody say, I see some over here. So they say Eagles by 2 touchdowns. Okay. Well, listen. What I will tell you this year about the Eagles, Clay, what I really like is I saw the growth in Aiden as a quarterback. He's become a field general. He comes, he evaluates, he scans the field, he sees where his one-on-one matchups are, and he's calm and collect. And the offense has adapted his demeanor. So when you come out there, he calms his players down. And I think that's the difference between the Georgia Eagles we've seen before to now. They're taking on the maturity of Aiden as the quarterback. And I give the edge to the Eagles from the quarterback play. We know the Eagles defense is tough. We already know that. You're going to have to fight
Yep.
to get some
Yep.
points against the Georgia Eagles. And that's another team that doesn't get the defensive credit that they should, but they really hang their hat. If you think about the wins that they had, right, in the national championship, well, it was a shutout. If you think about the loss they had, it was a shutout. Early in Warzone last year was 2-0. The only time I seen the wheels fall off for them was the previous year in the national championships, where that was just a Georgia Eagles team we didn't recognize. But if the kids show up that's supposed to be the Eagles, tough defense and a offense that's managed by a very smart and savvy quarterback. So my prediction is won't be a high-scoring game, 14-6, Georgia Eagles.
14-6 Georgia Eagles. So here's the thing, man. Both offenses are very dynamic for me, right? And Jonah, I haven't even dropped the announcement yet that I'm finna drop, which is really going to teams want to put up some points. Should I
Chicka,
drop it
chicka,
now
chicka,
before I
chicka,
give my
chicka, chicka.
prediction? Should I
Right.
drop it now, Jonah, or wait till later in the show?
Wait till later in the show, man. Keep them suspended. Keep them suspended.
All right, so listen, guys, I got something hot. I'm dropping for these teams that like to score a lot of points. And when I tell y'all, everybody that's involved in the YNC this weekend in Charlotte needs to hear this. They need to hear this. So if the from 6U all the way up to 13U, if you don't have a coach on or a parent on, go ahead and tag them or hit them up. I'm about to drop. I'm gonna drop some whole cold hard cash in their hand on this announcement here. But here's what we got, right? Georgia Eagles very dynamic and score at will, but as you say, in their tougher games, their championship games, and their national caliber games, it's been very tight, right? No more than what is it, 12 points so far this year in the big games, right? Then you've got West Orlando. You've got a Hall of Fame, NFL Hall of Fame coach. You've got very dynamic players at the running back position, at the quarterback position, and at the wide receiver position, right? Everybody runs no huddle. Everybody executes very well. Now, every now and then, like we saw with, who were the Eagles playing when they slowed it down? When they played the Miami Garden Ravens, they slowed it down and started playing bully ball towards the end of the game. But for the most part, they are a wide open spread team, and Coach James does a great job of balancing his run and pass, right? But when I make this announcement, Jonah, I think it's going to change everything for
It's gonna
everybody
turn up.
because people are going to want to reward their kids like we finna reward them, right? So
Right.
hashtag, as Jonah said, swagless monkeys, because when we drop this, people gonna start copying it like they copy everything else we do. I'm telling y'all this right now. But my score prediction, Jonah, is Georgia Eagles 21-16.
Hold up. I don't see the Eagles giving up no 16 points though, Clay. 16?
Listen, man, let me tell you
I just
something.
can't picture that.
Hey, West Orlando has speed, brother. Speed.
They-
And you of all people know what's the one thing a coach can't coach?
It's
Speed.
speed. But you know what? Now that you
Shut up.
brought that up to me, I'm gonna tell you this, Clay. I'm gonna change my prediction. I'm gonna change it now that you said
Oh
that.
yeah, you forgot what I was did you?
I'm gonna change my prediction. I say 28-6 Georgia Eagles. Why? I don't think it's a speed thing that's going to be the difference with Georgia Eagles. I think what Georgia Eagles are stronger than West Orlando, and West Orlando probably growing this. I think the skill positions, I think they may be equal. There's a lot of speed. You have a valid point. I think Georgia Eagles win in the trenches, running in between the tackles, playing bully football, scoring a touchdown every quarter. So that's why I say 28. I think every time they get a possession, they're going to play bully. You won't see it going fast, but they'll run in between the tackles. And now, Clay, go ahead and drop it because you might get 40. Because what I'm thinking about is in Warzone Bowl, they must have scored 100 points over the weekend. So they have the capability of
So
putting up the sport. And I want to see West Orlando on a big time stage, on a national stage, playing a national contender. This is what I've been waiting for. I would not be anywhere but on the sideline from this game, from the whistle blows, from they flip the coin to the game. And I want to see West Orlando. Do they belong in Division One? I don't care about technicalities last year. I don't care what rule they didn't. Now here's your chance. 1-on-1, man on man. If you deserve Division One, bruh, this weekend is your opportunity to just go ahead and punch it because we're gonna be right there to just say, you know what, nah, y'all still good at D2. Or we're gonna be like, damn, okay, them boys need to be up in the D1. So perfect opportunity, Clay.
here's the thing, man. As I'm looking at these comments, everybody seems to be upset that I said West Orlando is going to score 16 points on the Eagles. They not upset about how close the score prediction is. They upset that they think that I've said that the defense is going to give up 16
Oh,
points.
because they
And all
prideful
I'm
on their
doing,
defense, Clay.
and listen, and they have a great defense. They have a great defense. But if I'm being honest, right, I don't think Rare City or the Miami Garden Ravens has an explosive offense like West Orlando does. Now, They
Hold
may
on,
have
stop,
better
hold on,
trenches up
Clay.
front.
When Rod is healthy for Miami Gardens,
I'm talking
they
about
arguably.
no. I'm not talking about when Rod is healthy. I'm talking about the offense we saw.
Oh,
Rodless.
without listen, let's this football uncut. Let's keep it 1,000. Without Rod, the Ravens offense is mediocre. Let's just keep it a buck.
So here's what I'm saying though, Jonah. They haven't faced the offense this explosive yet this year.
I'll give
They
you that.
haven't, right? So here's what I'm saying, guys. Here's the announcement. This is what we're doing. And again, go ahead and hashtag swagless monkeys. People will start copying this move right here as well. This is what we're doing for the Charlotte event. We want to see a bunch of scoring, whether if it's a defense that dominates a game and gets pick sixes or scooping scores, right? Or if it's an offense that's putting up a lot of points, running the ball, throwing the ball. Hey, if you got a kicker and you want to kick some points, we want to see as many points as possible. So here is what the YNC is going to do for this entire weekend. There's two categories. All the games on field 1 are showcase games. All the games on field 2 and 3 are tournament bracket play games. So what we're going to do is this. All the games on field 1 for the whole weekend. Whatever team scores the most points in one game, we're giving them $1,200 cash. The team. Giving them $1,200 cash to spend it on their team. Now, on the bracket side, field 2 and field 3. And both of those fields are together. They're not each field. Both of those fields are together. Same thing. Whoever scores the most points in one single game out the whole weekend gets $1,200 cash to spend on your kids. Pizza party, help with traveling expenses, whatever y'all want to do. This is what we're doing. So let me explain this carefully. All the games that are on field 1 on Saturday, all the games that are on field 1 on Sunday. Whatever team scores the most points in a single game. So maybe you had a bad day Saturday, but you put up 60 points on Sunday. That 60
Woo!
points may win you the $1,200. Same thing on field 2 and field 3 together. Whoever scores the most points in one game on the bracket play side gets the $1,200 as well, man.
Get
Cold
that
hard
bread.
cash. So,
Get that
Jonah, we
bread.
probably gonna see some fireworks in the air. Come on, Ricky, have a seat. Everybody know you here. Ricky Sanchez.
Hey,
Yeah, choo choo
now
choo.
watch,
That's some
watch,
money
now,
right
watch,
there.
now watch DeMarcus come out there trying to break the scoreboard with 100 points. Hey, and DeMarcus, your kids better get that. We better not see you in the blue flame with no ace of spades making it rain.
Nah. Yeah, exactly. Hey, you see
Oh
Media Rail
man,
telling them, hey, it's time to run it up, fam.
yes sir. Don't hold it back. Don't hold it back. So
So,
listen, man, all in fun. So we picked our team. So we got our predictions so far. Rare breeds we picked. So we went to the 10U. We picked Georgia Eagles. 11U. Again, we go out to Texas. The cream of the crop coming out of Texas at an 11 under RCU. A lot of explosiveness, a lot of speed, a lot of diversity. Going against a stellar. When I think of Lambeau, I think of trenches. A lot of people look, oh, Melo not doing the same thing he used to do. Oh, he not the play. Yeah, you sleep on Melo, you want to. You'll start seeing him go in the end zone. In the end zone, Melo to me is just as efficient as he was 3-4 years ago. That Lambeau team
most
is
definitely.
just as physical as they were, probably more physical. So they're a team that really dominates the trenches. When we look at those highlights from last week with Lambeau against Fort Lauderdale Hurricanes, man, that was one of the hardest hitting football games we've seen in a while, Clay. So when I evaluate this matchup, RCU has a lot of speed. They have a lot of finesse. But we both know the game is won and lost in trenches in football. If you can control the clock and you can control the line of scrimmage, you're going to win football games. If I had to name a score and I had to pick a winner, of course, I'm going with the 4-time national champ, Lambeau. Man, Clay, this is going to upset you, but I'm going to define why I'm going to give you this score. I think they
Go
control
and
the
give it to
ball.
brother.
Lambeau is going to control the ball. Time of possession is probably going to be 70% to 30% just because of converting for first downs, right? Versus that I see RCU might be trying to pass and having a 3 and out and giving the ball back to Lambeau. Man, I think the game could get out of hand, man. I think it could be 30-6 before you blink, Lambeau.
Listen, Jonah, I'm from Texas, born and raised. Love my home state. Love the city that I was born in. I'm a Houston Astros fan, a Houston Rockets fan, and a Houston Texans fan. We're good in baseball. We're not very good in basketball, and we're not very good in football on the professional level.
I
But I
miss
will tell you
Olajuwon though.
this. Hey, the dream, baby, the dream. But I
Yeah,
will tell you this, bro. I am really good friends with their coaching staff at RCU. And I've watched a lot of those kids grow up over the years in my Texas Youth Football All-Star Showcase, right? I've been watching a lot of those kids from 6U to where they're at right now at 11U. And I'll continue to watch them as they progress on into high school and college. And you've got some very talented kids over there. You got a running back by the name of Bull, who, when I tell you he's a grown man,
yeah,
he
I
is
agree.
RCU mellow. He's a grown man, right? RCU feels like they have a athletic offensive line that can kind of mimic what Fort Lauderdale Hurricanes did to Lambeau's D line. RCU also feels like that they're more athletic on the outside and at quarterback than the Fort Lauderdale Hurricanes are. Now, with all that being said, I've watched Coach Howard team win championship after championship after championship. I've seen them lose a championship before. And I've seen how that team came back that following year
Yeah,
and they had something on their mind. So I say all that to say this, man. As much as I'm Texas through and through, my dad told me a long time ago, man, when you bet with your head and not your heart.
there you go.
Hey, so I got to ride with Lambeau on this one, bro. And when I say I got to ride with Lambeau with him, I got to ride with Lambeau hard, man. Because the thing that I think the RCU kids haven't experienced yet, they've never been hit by a force like Lambeau. They've never been hit by a D line that's just going to be relentless and keep coming and keep coming. And they're going to talk shit to you. And they're going to keep coming. And you're going to look at the sideline. And the coach is going to talk shit to you. And then you're going to look
Yeah,
in the stands for some support from mom and dad. And the Lambeau parents going to talk shit to you. It's just a heat wave, man. So I'm going with my final
but
score on this one. Very similar to yours, Jonah. I'm going 34-8 Lambeau.
and, and I can appreciate you breaking it down too. But and I'll tell you this, Clay. What I want to do is clear up on the RCU side. This is no disrespect. If you tune in to Clay and our show with my man Al on the ones and twos in the back, most importantly, we call it Football Uncut because we want to keep it real. We not gonna just do like how they do in Pop Warner. Oh, we expect an exciting game and it's for the kids. It's just gonna compete and it's gonna be a great day out. No, we're gonna keep it real. We're gonna tell you who's gonna get punching them out from what we've seen. But I will tell you this in RCU's defense: outside of Fort Lauderdale Hurricanes and RCU, which we can appreciate, they run into the smoke. And we're going to talk about running
Yeah.
away from the smoke a little bit. Don't go nowhere in the show, y'all, because this show going to get really interesting. We started out light for the people that just tune in. We know the authentic crowd. They stay with us through it all. We're going to break some stuff down tonight. But so shout out to RCU, who knows what Lambeau brings to the table. Appreciate that they want to step up to the challenge because there's a lot of coaches with no nuts who calls Clay and I, and they try to how could I say this, Clay? Clay, because you're a witness to it. They try to say, well, who's in the bracket? Who's playing in with this tournament? And all
Jonah,
that's for and it may sound innocent to with y'all, but Clay and I already know the play. When they find out certain teams and certain age groups are in certain brackets, they're gone. They're out of there.
They squat
So
to pee,
y'all may
Jonah.
look at a schedule.
These grown men squat to pee. Men ain't men anymore, and that's the sad part
Right.
about it.
Right. So these coaches have lost the art of coaching. They've taken it to where they want to get preseason wins, and we're going to talk about that too. Everybody wants to get on the internet. And I know this is Clay. Their game could be scheduled from 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock. Game over at 6 o'clock. At 6:01.35 they already on the internet. I told you, boy, we don't play them games. That you just beat a nobody 30 nothing, and that's what they're swinging on. But as soon as a big dog called them out, oh no, man! Next week, we booked, and they don't want to play no games. So shout out to RCU that ain't playing no games. Win, lose, or draw, you got our respect because it's about you guys taking the challenge and coming on. And I will tell you this: outside of Fort Lauderdale Hurricanes and RCU Clay, name me teams that really want that smoke with Lambeau. Be 100. How many lining up to say, man, Howard, where the hell you at? I want that game right now. Name them.
Nah.
You won't be able to. Let's keep it 100.
Nope.
Youth football has gotten suspect with a bunch of sucker coaches who only want to win and play games they're guaranteed to win. You don't want to smoke. You don't want to prove to your kids that you got belief in them, that you're going to get in there. And I don't care what Lambeau got. They put on their pants just like we put on our pants. If you start coaching like that, your kids going to believe like that. But when your coaches see you strategically, they ain't dumb. Listen, don't sleep on these 11 and 12-year-old kids. They see what you're doing. They see you not lining them up for the real games. They see you are Lulu University. That's what you want to play. So your kids going to take that to high school. They're going to take that to college and have that Lulu syndrome because that's how you want to coach. Stop running from the smoke, man. Because when we talk about this 9U and with Clay and I had to go through all this week that these teams don't want to play voodoo. Oh, voodoo playing, no, coach, we gonna play them in like 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Man, let me tell you, Clay, and I'm going to stand on this, my G. I'm going to stand on this. Dodge with YNC if you want to. I promise you, December, you'll be in the pinnacle. That's why I'm calling it out. You'll be in Panama City playing Lulu Championship. Don't call us about no ranking. Don't call us about no top 8, no top 10. Go play where you really want to play. Don't try to squeeze in at the end of the year just so you can rub shoulders with the people who really want to do this at the end of the year. So you can't get out there and play these teams now. Stay off the line, man. Just go to Lulu University and run it like that because it's getting fatiguing for us to be late at night saying, hey, Coach Bat, Coach Lario, we trying to get y'all games. But they really, hey, Coach Howard, man, we really trying to get y'all games. Hey, Coach Mark, man, we know at Red Bleeds, we really trying to get y'all games. Come on, bro. Play these games. Play these games. And then what's going to happen, Clay, they're going to force me to start naming names, which you really don't want. You don't want that.
Here's one of my favorite lines, Jonah. Here's one of my favorite lines. If they know they're playing Lambeau, right? Coach, let me get Lambeau day 2. Or if they know they're playing Voodoo, let me get Voodoo day 2. I need a warm-up game first. A warm-up game? Listen, if I show up to a tournament to play Voodoo, if I show up to a tournament to play Lambeau, if I show up to a tournament to play Rare Breeds, give them to me day 1 out the box. Why even risk somebody getting hurt? Risk getting the opportunity to see your team up close and in person? Man, give them to me straight. Soon as they get off the van, we ain't even get to the football field. Line it up right here in the parking lot, man. Let's go.
Let's get
you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't even understand that. So I mean, Jonah, you're speaking so much truth right now, brother. I've watched team after team after team give me every excuse in the book on why, Clayton, keep our registration money. We have to not attend. Oh, really? Okay. I've never known anybody just want to give up money. But I mean, like you say, man, I guess, when you're scared, you're scared.
Hold on, and we're not done yet, Clay. Well, we're not done yet, sir. So, we watch the internet, we see what's going on, and I see these other event holders, they run their events, and it's just a little depressing that, let's say the event is on Saturday, and then on Thursday, they have to put a post. Unfortunately, this team can no longer attend the event. After other teams had already lined up to be with them, we can't make it there. Or we get a phone call on Thursday or Friday, and your game's on Saturday, or we can't make it. Let me tell you something, because I coached before Generation X. Don't get it twisted. I was a coach. If I have a game that I'm supposed to be at a tournament or an event on Saturday, Clay, we done booked our hotels. We done got our sprinter. We locked in, fam. We done broke bread. There's no way I can call you on Thursday and blow all that money if I really intended to come in the first place. But some people like the clout chase. Hey, Clay, send me that invite so I could post it. Oh, send me that invite so I could post it. Oh yeah, we don't
They
dodge no
trying to
smoke. We run to the smoke. Da da da. I got my invite right here. My invite right here. And then 2 days before, hey Jonah, we can't make. So you did all that clout chasing. You done got 2 or 3 more players on your team. You holler at the little fine baby mama that you want to be like you was the coach of the year, so she can get on your team over there. And then come. So tell you what, cancel out on Clay and myself. I don't even have to say anything else from that, Clay. Cancel out on us on the event 2 or 3 days further. And listen, we're gonna be sending so many teams to the Lulu championships. Y'all gonna have your own
hey,
conference over there. And I'm just keeping it real.
it,
Somebody gotta say it. Somebody gotta follow through. Somebody gotta start doing all these teams that's dodging smoke, canceling out on teams. Them days over with, man. Let's get back to coaches with nuts that's gonna say, hey, let's line it up, let's play football. And whatever ends up at the end of the game, it ends up. Win, lose, or draw. But one thing I can tell you what you'll be, coach, at the end of the game, you'll be respected. I can guarantee you that. But you do all that dodging and diving and try to pick and choose and ask us who in the brackets. Don't ask who in the bracket. Just show up, play anybody. Stop trying to finagle
but,
your way into a win.
or they say this, Jonah. Well, my parents, and
Oh,
and
the parents run the
I
team.
get it. You can't make other grown people do anything with their children. But it seemed like to me, if you have a meeting with your parents and be very transparent about what your goal is and what your vision is at the beginning of the season, they either gonna be on board with it or they not gonna be on board with it. It's not going to be in between. But you hit a very important thing. See, Jonah, everybody wants a YNC invite for recruiting purposes. Hey, Clay, hey, Jonah, let me get that invite. We did this, this, and this, and we're going to come here and we're going to come there. Let's go and get the invite. I'm going to put it on social media. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You see, we going to the smoke. Bring little Timmy to me, this and that. Here's the one that's really tripping me out, Jonah. I had a team beg me for an invite. Called 3 or 4 people from my staff to get in my ear about, man, this team is really ready for the opportunity. I give the team the opportunity. Listen, they all on social media with their invite, talk about what they're going
Oh,
to
yeah.
do. I see they using the invite to recruit players. Then this the new move, Jonah. This what they do. Then they say, well, you know what? We don't think we're going to be able to make it.
Oh, yeah.
And then, hold on, Jonah. And then they want to try to throw their own event and get all the teams that's in the YNC to come to their event. Come on, man,
Oh, yeah.
stop it.
That's okay.
Where we do this at, Jonah? I just don't understand it, man. I don't
So I'm going to tell
understand
you
it.
this. I'm going to tell you this, Clay. One thing we're not trying to do, and guys, please understand what I'm about to tell you. We are not trying to stack YNC with 150 teams. That's not the goal here. We're not trying to say we're the biggest national championship. We're not trying to say we're the biggest preseason. That's not what we want. We can't evaluate 130 teams. We don't use YNC to pay our bills. Therefore, we don't need 130 teams to be in our event. We give back everything we get. We do uniforms, crystal balls, chains, rings. Been doing it. So our motive is not finances. Otherwise, you see it in our actions. I don't have to give you a speech. We giving that back to the babies. You know what I'm saying? This we do it from the heart. But if we needed to pay bills, then we'd be like, YNC is the biggest. This is nothing for us to fill up YNC. But are we truly evaluating the teams? We do 3 different YNCs in preseason. Why? Because we can go in that region, evaluate 45 teams efficiently, and walk away and say, man, Clay, that team definitely was real. We can go into Houston, evaluate another 45, 50 teams. Oh, man, because we turn down teams. Same thing, we go into DMV, 45, 50 teams. And at the end of the day, yeah, it's 150 teams, but we did it the right way strategically in certain areas because that's our goal, right? So if you are going to take the approach that just trying to use us and get us to the end, and then you're trying to figure out who you got to play, listen, don't come to wine. And I know this is not the marketing thing to say, Clay. This ain't the thing as a marketer. You want to be in a Lulu vibe, don't come to YNT. It's not that we prideful. It's not that we feel our head is big. We're looking for the best competition. We're not looking to pack the place. We don't want 50 teams in one age division. We want 8 to 10 teams with coaches with nuts that's going to trickle down to their kids. So them kids going to come in there and have nuts, and guess what? We're going to see the best football played. That's what we want. We ain't trying to do no big national championship with 200 teams. Bring the biggest, the baddest, and that's what we on. That's it.
Jonah,
all that extra stuff, y'all can keep it.
Let them go to the Lulu Bowl, man. Listen, bro.
Go to Disney
Here's
World.
What I'm focused on. Here's what I'm focused on this weekend, Jonah.
Yeah.
What team is going to score the most points in a single game to get this cold hard cash, baby? Ooh. That's all I'm trying to figure out.
Tell me.
You can buy a lot of pizzas with $1,200 for them kids, right? You can help a lot of parents with some gas money, you know, or maybe you start getting ready for your next trip with this, man. All I'm saying is who's gonna have the biggest scoring game on field 1 or the biggest scoring game on field 2 and 3 combined and walk away with the bread. That's all I'm trying to figure out, dog.
All right. So look, now you already named your 12U. You already named your 11U. You already named your 10U. Unfortunately, guys, our 9U national champion will not be coming to YNC Charlotte. They were scheduled to be in Charlotte, but nobody wants to play voodoo. You know? So shout out to the teams that's still into the brackets for the 9U. We'll name those 9U in a minute. So the champions will be going up to DMV. I probably shouldn't have said that because you're going to probably scare out the brackets for the 9U then. But that's okay.
Jonah. So hold on, Clay. Hold on. Before you say another word. Right now, 10 9Us say they coming to DMV. Let's see how many actually show up. Not that you said this.
But what you should do, Clay, and this is what you should do moving forward. We're going to start naming the teams that's committed prior to us saying, hey, these are 10 teams that's coming. Don't run from it, man. Because I'm going to tell you, you back out, and it's not like we hold anything personal. Clay and I don't have any personal thing against anyone, nobody at the YNT. But if we can't feel you're going to be trustworthy and committing and keeping your word, look, at the end of the day, you got to stand on business, bro. So if we tell you we're going to give your kids uniforms, give you your trophies, have your rings on deck, provide you a safe atmosphere because we said it, we're going to stand on that, right? So we're going to have you accountable to stand on your business. You tell us you're coming outside of a big emergency, such and such and such, and you tell us 2 days before that you cancel the hold, you showing up, we don't believe you because we don't feel that you cancel your hotels. We don't believe that you cancel your transportation. We just pretty much feel you lied. And so then at that point, if we can't feel you don't stand on business, then we don't feel you're going to be part of that YNC process. We want real people, authentic, and just going to get it down. And let's keep this youth football community tight. And let's everybody who we deal with, we're going to stand on business. No more, no less. If you're going to be YNC, we standing on business. Now, like I always tell Clay when I coach, football teaches a lot more lessons than just X and O's. Football teaches you a lot of lessons in life. We both know that football probably saved your life just like it did me, made you a better person, just like some people go to the military, right? You football coaches, understand the responsibility that has been given to you. 30 or 40 parents have trusted you to instill great values in their kid. They ain't just coming there to get a scholarship to run a 9 route. They trusting you're going to teach their man how to be a young man. It starts with you, coach. If you tell somebody something, stand on that. You make an agreement with one of these coaches. Hey, man, you know how many times I get a phone call, Clay? Hey, man, Jonah, y'all got to do something about this, man. This team just backed out on us this week. This team just backed on us this week. Man, let's be a youth football community. Stand on business. Bro, get on our line. If they don't want to stand on business, let us know. We're going to treat this real tight.
Hey, Jonah,
it's going to be the youth football mob, right? We're going to keep it all in the family.
They don't be backing out on them. They don't be backing out on them mamas and them in them leggings whose son want to play quarterback. They show make sure that happen.
I'll tell you like this, Clay. I'd rather play the national championship with 4 teams that you're going to stand on business. We know that's going to show up and ain't scared of playing football instead of having 20 teams that they really don't even want to match up. And listen, they get into the brackets. Listen, I'm going to tell you something, Clay. You probably didn't notice this. They pay attention to the rankings towards the end of the year because they don't want to be the 8 seed to go play the 1 seed day 1. So, man, we had beat this team by 1 point. We should be ranked 7, man. Why you got us at 8? Hey, man.
If I tell you how many phone calls I've received like that about, you cheating everybody from the best two teams possibly playing each other in the semifinals rather than the national championship. Am I really? Because based on the rankings, you are the eighth seed.
Hey,
It's always
hey,
funny,
man, hey,
but
Clay,
I always
hey
tell
Clay, we can't
people
make a
the
donation.
SED
We
story
can't
though.
make a donation to Generation X to get to that 7th seed. What's your
Listen, bro,
cash app?
I tell these people the SED story all the time.
Oh,
They were what do we have them either number one and number two in the nation when they lost in the playoffs. They dropped down to number 10, and then in the playoffs, in the other team's respective playoffs, a couple other teams lost, and they moved back into the number 8 spot and beat the number one team in the country and beat number 3 and number 2 to win a national championship. So sometimes coming in as the 8th seed is not necessarily a bad situation. It's about what
you're right.
the coaching staff and players do with the opportunity. That's what it's all about, man.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, man. So we talked about certain things. Clay, I'm a little disturbed on off the field activities right now. And again, this happened in Texas, and I know you got a little bit more clarity on me, but I've been getting hit up all day on it. It's the elephant in the room right now, brother. DEA 13U started out their season and preseason dominant. The 12U national champions,
Yep.
and they didn't skip a beat. Came in from last year, looked like they took a step from where they were last year. Defensively, just dominant enough to win football games offensively. And then I see some posts that we're not able to field a team this weekend. We're not able to come to an event that you're scheduled to play when other people are scheduled to play. Just shed a little light on it because I don't want to talk from not knowing because it's not my region. Shed a little light on it because everybody has been on our line about the DEA 13U team.
All right, so here's the situation with DEA 13U. And before I make this statement, I'm going to let you know. Since the announcement has been made, I have not talked to any parent on the team. I haven't talked to a player on the team. I have not talked to any coaches. I have not talked to Courtney Jackson or anyone, right? But this is just my general knowledge of what's going on. And if you guys remember, I tentatively talked to or mentioned this in one of our other shows. I just didn't know it would go this far. I simply thought that it was just going to be a few kids, maybe not being able to play throughout the rest of the year. So I will say this. I don't know if the DEA 13U team has collapsed. No one has confirmed that to me. That is credible, right? That is just the rumor that's on social media. But what I do know has happened is that, the 13U was scheduled to play in the Clash at KC, Chuck Tolson's event, and that several players on that 13U team are required to be at their high school football practice, whether if it's Friday, this weekend, Monday, whatever the situation is. I don't know the details of it. So because of that, DEA did not want to take a team down there. I don't know if it was they didn't have enough players. I don't know if they just didn't want to take the team. I don't know the details because I haven't spoken to anyone, right? So I don't want to misrepresent anyone in that fashion. But here's the thing you have to remember. I saw a lot of jargon online, especially in the 13U group. They go at each other pretty hard, right? And everybody laughs and they've got tough skin. But here's the realization, Jonah, and this goes back to why I made the comment I made last show about combining 13U and 14U and just making it a eighth grade division. Because when you have these really talented kids that are freshmen on 13U or even freshmen on 14U, and they're so talented that they could play varsity as freshmen or JV as freshmen, you lose those kids. Because the rule is no kid can play JV or varsity football and participate in the YNC. They can play freshman football, but then that's going to vary from state to state because the definition of freshman football in the YNC rules is that everybody on that team has to be in ninth grade or lower, and every team that they play has to be in ninth grade or lower. If a freshman team plays a JV team, then that player is now null and void for the season. So here's what happens, right? You've got a talented kid who's an eighth grader, and he played 12U last year, and they won the national championship, right? Now he comes back with his boys. to defend their national title at 13U, and he's a freshman. Well, he's a very talented kid. He's a kid that is good enough to play varsity. Well,
Right.
he's on the 13U team. It's summertime. The kid may not know he's on varsity yet. The parent may not know he's on varsity yet. Now this kid has played the preseason with his 13U team. Now he started his high school workouts. The coaches then identify him as a kid that could be on varsity. So at that point, he's got to stop playing with his 13U and continue high school with varsity. And here's the crazy part. I see people talking negative about this, but this is something we should be celebrating. This is what we do the YNC for, to get these kids prepared to play at the highest level in high school, so that way they have the maximum opportunity to get what the ultimate goal is in my eyes, and that's using football to pay for them to get a free college education. So the crazy part about it is I don't understand why people are talking so negative about this, because this is actually a good thing for those kids. Now,
For the kids, yeah.
everybody doesn't fall into that category, right? So the question is, what happens with everyone else, right? What happens with the kids that maybe aren't as talented and don't get to play on the varsity level, right? And they're still playing freshman football. So by rule, they can still play, YNC 13U or 14U football, right? That is a decision that the parents and coaches have to make. And whatever their reasoning behind it, we got to let them make those points, guys. A lot of you guys are throwing a lot of negative shade on this, right? And you really don't have the facts. Now, with this happening, Jonah, and this is now the second year in a row this has happened with DEA, I'm going to ask you again. You still don't like my idea about combining 13U and 14U and just making it
Well,
at 8th grade age level? And then you don't have to worry about this ever again.
well, I don't think that really even eliminate. I think those talented players still gonna be swept. Here's what everybody was negative about, and again, we don't have a deny or confirm. Everybody was taking shots at it because they felt that it was the information was given to the coach going into the season. You only got us for June and July. Come August, we gone. So they're like,
That
hold
might be,
on,
I don't
that's
know.
abusive to
Yeah.
the system. What you just trying to come out here and show out for June and July, knowing your players aren't going to be available in August? What was the purpose for internet under the radar vibes? What are we doing this for? That's what the public is complaining about. And again, we can't deny or confirm it because we're not in the DEA camp. But that is why everybody tripping like, bro, they've been, and again, this is not Clay or I speaking, but they're saying the coach Ben knew that these kids weren't going to be available in August. And you want to come beat our ass from June and July, have your little summer fling with us, and then come fall football, y'all going. So that's what, again, that's what I think the people was upset about. And again, we on
Yeah.
Uncut, Clay. We got to keep it real. Now, Courtney can come back and address it with us and clear it up for himself, or he can make a video and clear it up. But I guess the people want to know, Coach, did you know these players weren't going to be available to you in August because they was already committed to a high school?
So that's the question that, only can be answered by Coach Jackson and his staff, right? And I think in due time, they will probably go ahead and address that, whether if they did or didn't know, just because I know that they will want to clear the air on whatever the situation is. I will tell you this, though, right? Um, I'd said a couple shows back, once high school football started, I didn't feel like Nehemiah was going to continue with DEA because he's that talented of a kid, right? The skill level that he has, 8th grade, 9th grade, if a coach has an ability to have him on his high school team, and he's
You know
one of
what I'm
those
saying?
kids that's going to make a team better, right? I mean,
Yeah,
and again, you know, that's one of those things that we should celebrate. Now the question that you asked, Jonah, is an important question. Did the coaching staff know? Right? Some people may say, well, maybe the kid and the parents wanted to get some work beforehand before going into high school. And that may be true. But here's the thing I think a lot of people don't take in consideration, right? Take example the game against West Orlando Jaguars, right? It's a preseason game. It's not going to count towards your regular season record, right? So the reality is, did West Orlando suffer from this game? I don't think they did. Because I think they got better from that game, which is going to make them better throughout the season, whether if
I
DEA
agree.
continues to have a 13U or not. These are the things we really have to look at. Sometimes we get so petty with shit that we don't really look at the real picture of it. And the real
Right.
picture of it, man, is, you know, there was really no rule broke here because it's
Yeah.
preseason. Hell, in preseason, a
Yeah.
kid can play for 8 different teams if he wants to. And there's nothing that any of us
Right.
can say about it. It just is what it is.
So before we talk about these babies, 6, 7, and 8 years old that's going down in Charlotte, because you know those are the most violent parents, Clay. Let me get this out the way. 6U parents, 7U parents, borderline 8U parents, thugged out. I'm gonna tell you that right now. But let's talk about dual registration, Clay. This past weekend, very interesting. We were talking about the rare breeds game at 12 and under. Played against RDU. Talked about the kid legacy. He looked a little
Mm-hmm.
pedestrian. Didn't really pay him much attention against rare breeds because the defense just was that dominant. The kid's a phenom. So that was on a weekend, and a couple days later, he plays on another team in a different state. Just probably within 24 hours of when he played with the rare breeds. Now this is preseason. We know there's not too many people committed, locked in. We're going to go over the dates that you have to lock in your roster, that there can't be any dual enrollment. But let's clear the air now, Clay. I don't think people understand dual enrollment. Doesn't refer to middle school, doesn't refer to freshman football. What it refers to if you being on one youth football team and thinking you can play for another youth football team. Let's address that right now.
So listen, guys. If you've read the YNC rules, even if you haven't read the rules and you've attended the show, you know that one of the things that we don't support and one of the things that's totally against our rules is dual certification. So what certification consists of is that if a player at any point during the regular season is certified or plays on two different select, recreational, intramural, park, whatever title you want to put on it, rosters. Now, if a player plays for, and I'm just going to use them for example, if a player plays for the Miami Garden Ravens, the only other team he can play a regular season football game for and still be eligible for the YNC is the team of the school that he attends. Anything else outside of that, the player is deemed as ineligible. Now, there's one caveat to that we never have taken into account at the YNC, and that is a FBU All-Star platform. If a kid plays on an FBU All-Star team, that's an All-Star team. We don't necessarily rule on that, but lately, since we've gotten past the first 3 or 4 years of YNC, we hadn't had to really deal with that too much either, Jonah. But the reality is this, man. Once that date hits, September 1st, right? At midnight, these kids should be locked in on their Zort's roster, in the Zort system, no manipulation, nothing that you can change. Boom. Whether if you've been in a YNC preseason event, whether if you haven't been in a YNC preseason event, if you have any hopes or dreams of attending the YNC National Championships in South Florida in December, those rosters need to be locked September 1st. Plain and simple, clean cut, no other excuses.
Yeah, absolutely. So now the duel is one thing, which is there's no renter players. Let's say that you can't rent a player to get a game. Again, coaches, get outside your egos, and you see a talented player over here. You offering whatever you offering to the parents or for the kid, or even as for the limelight. There's no rental players. And again, are you doing this for preseason wins? And we just want to make sure, listen, we appreciate great competition, but at what expense? So we would encourage you, man, just don't try to get you some temporary wins by, renting a player to be on the team. All it's going to do is get you eliminated from national contention. So, I would just tell you, think about it before you go ahead and lock into it. But Clay, let's get down to the 8 and under Charlotte matchups, bro. Tell me who we looking for, who's going to be one of the standout games you want to pay attention to. Let's get a prediction on it.
All right, so let me go and pull my sheet up here, Jonah. Pull my sheet up, man. But the younger age groups, I feel like are really some really good matchups, right? So on 8 and under, we've got the two divisions in this one age division. We've got the showcase games, and then we've got the bracket play games. So listen, I'm gonna address something right now before we get started, right? So you've got the number one 8U team in the country, defending YNC champs, the Bessemer Tigers, on the showcase side, right? And then you've got the number two 8U team in the country, RDU, on the bracket side. And a lot of people all on social media, why wasn't that a showcase game? Why don't you have those guys playing each other? This and that, et cetera, et cetera. One thing we don't do at the YNC is we don't try to money gouge matchups. And the reason I say money gouge is because money is the only term that you guys are going to understand. I've spoken with both head coaches. Both of those guys have each other on their schedule, right? So why would we take the luster from one of them having that game during the regular season? You you see what I'm saying? That's a game that should be played wherever they agreed upon, whether if it's going to be in Atlanta, whether if it's going to be at Bessemer. That game should be played there, and however they're going to break up the financial disbursement of that is amongst them. It shouldn't be determined by us, and we profit off of it, and then those two organizations, really get nothing on it. This is not something that we try to do, right? Some people try to do that. And if that's the way they like to operate, that's the way they like to operate. Now, you do have some people that live in the same city and they refuse to play each other. Now, those people, we do make play each other in the YNC. I've got one of those matchups in Texas. In Dallas, you got two teams that's literally down the street from each other, and the egos of the coaches and parents refuse to have them play. Well, guess what? They're going to play in the YNC. That's the only time that we're really going to step in and make that one of our games. So to answer everybody's questions, that's why you see Bessemer on one side and RDU on one side, because we're not going to take, the excitement and the luster from their regular season game that isn't that far away and do it right now. Now, if their regular season game was at the end of the season, then it might have been a different conversation. But here are the showcase matchups that we got, Jonah. So right off the bat, we've got our Division One and Division Two national champs, Bessemer Tigers, versus the West Orlando Jaguars. This is on Saturday. In addition to that, we've got Lauderdale Lakes Vikings, which was a D1 semifinalist last year, versus, and this is the team, man, that a lot of people are asking, why are we putting them in the showcase game? This is a team that has proven to be the top team in their state, and they said they want an opportunity to show the whole country in the preseason how good they are. Hilltop Hawks out of Ohio.
Listen, a lot of people sleeping on them. They got one of these top running backs, but will they have enough? Again, that's why I love the national stage, Clay, because you can be the bully in your neighborhood, you can be the bully in your own street, but when you get out there on that national stage, it's a different vibe. A different vibe.
Exactly. Now, coming back on Sunday, now we mix it up a little bit on the showcase side. We've got West Orlando Jaguars versus the Hilltop Hawks. And then we've got Bessemer Tigers versus the Dog Pound, a matchup that a lot of people around the country been wanting to see and see how that thing shakes out, man. So it's going to be interesting to see how that showcase side works out. But before you even dig into that, Jonah, let's talk about the bracket side. That 14 bracket side, we've got RDU, number 2 8U team in the country, playing the So Icy Boys first round. And I don't know if it was just chatter back and forth, man, but they
Yeah,
act like So Icy is ready to upset RDU, bro.
man. Hey, so Icy bring their parent swag. They come ready. Listen, they're gonna give you a lot of noise, and they're a scrappy team. So the thing is, they're gonna bring their A game. But I really want to go back to that Bessemer dog pound, and also what you call it, from Cincinnati against
Hilltop of
dog
West
pound.
Orlando.
Hilltop. Yeah. So my man Mike doing it. That I think just those three teams, the dynamics that's gonna be involved in it's gonna tell us a lot in the preseason of what we can expect them from the 2023 season. We'll get a clear vision of where these teams, where we should place them in the rankings after this weekend. I truly believe that. And this is why we do it. This is so we can get that good look because it's quality play. Nobody running from the smoke. You got a team coming all the way up from Fort Lauderdale to Lauderhill or Lauderdale to represent, Florida. You got a team coming from Cincinnati, team from Alabama. And these are the coaches that's not running from smoke. This is what I'm telling
Mm-mm.
you. Coaches take a page from what these dudes are doing. It's not just the coaches. Look at the young men, the exposure they're going to get, the experience they're going to get. And they're going to learn early at the ages of 7, 8 years old. Like, man, never run from smoke, man. I don't care. We got to get on a bus, pack our bags. We're going to see it. Instead of having some of these coaches who called us 2 nights ago saying, Coach, we don't think we're going to make it because, hey, man, I'm going to ride with y'all all day. Shout out to Hilltop. Shout out Lauderdale Vikings. And Bessemer, man, national champs. Let's go. Shout out to them boys. Let's go.
Now, the second side of that 8U bracket, two teams that I think are very prime to make some noise this year. 8U Montgomery Gators.
Yes.
And 8U RHE. Now, some of you guys may say,
hometown.
Who is RHE? Who is RHE? Listen, guys. Y'all remember Carolina Reloaded, right? From my understanding, this is the new and improved version of it. Royal Hornets Elite. So it'll be interesting to watch that matchup and see which way they go. We're really both of them, which way they go, whether they're on the winner side or the consolation side on Sunday, man. It's gonna be some interesting matchups on 8U.
Well, Clay, and I know this is going left field, but I got to give a shout out to the organization, man, because I see what they're doing at the 10 and under. And I know this is 8 and under, but Montgomery Gators, man, 10 and under has made a name for themselves over the last couple of weeks. In a dogfight that was early a couple of weeks ago when they were out there in Nashville, came down there to War Zone, punched people in the mouth. That is a team that we got to look for, Clay. Believe it or not, I think they're going to have a spot in the top 4 in the country. Look out for Montgomery Gators, 10 and under team, man. They got a lot of talent over there, a lot of talent. And again, that preseason gave us that look to see where we can place them early in the rankings.
So here's what's going to be interesting about 6U and 7U. 6U and 7U are both 16 brackets, right? Both brackets are going to be set up where 2 teams get first round byes, right? If you're one of the teams that don't get first round byes, you would have to win 3 games to win the championship, right? If you're one of the bye teams, you win 2 games to win the championship. And then if you have to go into consolation, then that would be your 3rd game or an additional 2 games to win the consolation championship. I think when you look at the teams that are in these brackets, man, take 7U for example. Listen to this lineup: Rare Breeds, Lauderdale Lake Vikings, Georgia Elite, Showtime, RHE, 404 Bulls. I mean, and then you can't have this bracket without the YNC Division champs, the Bessemer Tigers. Man, this bracket is loaded. I take this 7U bracket over any 7U bracket in the country right now today.
Yeah. And a team that's been really just making sparks, man, down from Georgia Elite has been making preseason sparks. So this bracket here, Clay, you're going to have to watch it very close. Couldn't give you a prediction, but I can tell you this, man. It's going to be some ball out there. And I'm telling you, these are crazy parents. Get your mace ready, Clay. Get your little electric, keep them in line. But definitely is going to be where the winner that comes out of this, I can guarantee you can place them in the top 4 in the country and they'll defend that. They can stand on that.
Now, 6U bracket, 16 bracket again, same concept, man. 2 that's going to get the first round bye, right? And then we'll see how everything shakes under. So each team could play anywhere from 2 to 3 games depending on where they stand on the winner side or the consolation side. Listen to the teams that you have in here, Jonah. You've got RHE, Lauderdale Lake Vikings, Douglasville, right? You've got Georgia Elite, and again, Bessemer Tigers. Now, here's what's interesting about this thing.
Yeah.
I was on the phone with the coach from Georgia Elite probably about 30 minutes before we got on the air.
Hold on, Clay.
He told me
Clay, look at this message here online, man. You got a note directed to you, man. YNC need to tap into Western Pennsylvania. And then you got to respond to my, ain't nobody coming to Transylvania.
Hey, man.
Boy, y'all be the realest. Y'all be the realest in these comments.
They own it.
Boy.
They own it, man.
Ain't nobody coming to Transylvania.
So on
Oh
the 6U
man.
level, about 30 minutes before we got on the show, Jonah, the coach calls me and we're talking about some other stuff that's going down in Texas next weekend.
Yeah.
He's setting up for his team to come down to the Ricky Sanchez. And he says, Clayton, I know you got Bessemer favored in this. He says, but we're going to beat them. He says, the score would be a minimal 18-0 when we face them in the championship. I said, God damn. That's quite a statement when you're talking about the Bessemer Tigers, who were 6U and 7U national champs last year. And I know this 6U team is a new team, but we're talking about the team that was the number one organization in the country last year. So you know they holding weight from top to bottom. What you think about that, Jonah?
Well, Clay, this is what I think about that. So, you ever heard of the Madden curse? Some of the players that always used to get on the cover and they always get hurt during the season. It's called a Madden curse.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, every time a coach comes in here and talk about they're gonna win 30-0, 18-0, they're usually right about one thing, and it's the score. But the thing they're wrong about is like who has that score. They the one who usually get that 18-0 or that 30-0. So pay very close attention, y'all. Y'all heard the coach call it here first. He said he's gonna come down and win 18-0. If he loses 18-0, we're gonna call that the uncut curse. Don't come up here trying to quote no score. You're gonna beat somebody something to nothing because you just might get donut yourself. You understand what I'm saying?
Hey, Jonah, are you watching these comments, man? They going hard on Pennsylvania right now.
Hey,
Oh
my dog
man.
gonna need an escort offline right now, Clay. I don't know why he got on here talking about we need to tap in the West Pennsylvania because they done gave the man Dracula signs all the way up from top to bottom.
All right, man. So
Hey, listen,
if we roll down to 10U, so we know we got the
yeah,
big showcase game Saturday night to cap it off between the Georgia
yeah,
Eagles and the West Orlando Jaguars. We've already talked about it. Now on the bracket side, and again, like we talked about earlier, that bracket side has the chance to win the cash money just like the showcase side. Four
yeah,
teams, man, that I'm interested to see what they look like on the 10U level this year. Tennessee Mob, which we've known about.
right.
West Virginia Mountie Boys. This is a team
Mm-hmm.
that I don't know a lot about, but I've gotten a lot of good feedback from people that I asked
Well, Clay,
opinions on that
they
I
played in
respect.
Nashville at Rail's event, and man, listen, they were balling all the way out to the end. The Mountie Boys are definitely a tough team that can make some
Here we
noise
go.
right here in Charlotte. Absolutely.
And, we, and we're going to see it right up and close. You got Rare City, and then a hometown team that everybody says is the real deal, the Queen City Chargers.
Well, we already know Queen City been doing it for the last 2 years, man. So I really wanted to see them against some of that Georgia work, some against that Texas work, to really kind of just line themselves up. So this great big opportunity. Big opportunity. Like
Yeah.
Rel said, Mountie Boys are solid, man. They're tough. Tough defense. They were runner-ups, man, doing their thing. So listen, that 10U is gonna be fun to watch. Gonna be fun to watch. Again, I need some people in Charlotte to tell Clay and I after this football games are over, where are we going to eat, Clay? Listen, Waffle House is cute, but that ain't my vibe. I need some seafood. You know what I'm saying? I need
Hey,
some my taste buds are refined, my G. You know what I'm saying? I need to be spoiled with some home cooking over there. So y'all tap in, let Clay and I know what's going down. While Clay, go ahead and get it. What was it? Tell me your order again. Let me hear that order again when you go, because you had it
hey,
down pat.
man,
You don't even have to
you
think
already
about it.
know. I want a high C orange, all-star egg scrambled with bacon. I don't want hash brown. Give me grits with a regular waffle. You know what it is.
So what makes the
Keep
eggs
them.
all star? What qualifies the eggs to be all star?
It's just what they call it, man. And listen, in my book, it's an all-star. In my book, it's an
I
all-star,
bet it
man.
is.
You can't. And
And
here's the
Clay,
thing,
I'm
man.
gonna
The
tell
great
you
thing
this.
about Waffle House, it don't matter what time of day you go, you always know the food gonna be excellent.
Yeah, and it don't matter what time of day you go, because every time I go into Facebook, if I see one big fight in a restaurant, it's always Waffle House. It ain't nowhere else.
And
It
I
ain't Denny's. It's not Applebee's. It's not Red Lobster. Waffle House attracts the biggest fights all the time. Why is that, Clay? These people be standing up on the
it
counter throwing eggs at the cooks.
Because people don't know how to mind their own business and eat their food. Jonah, let me tell you, I'd have been to several Waffle Houses when big fights have occurred like that. And you know what I do? Take a look and keep eating because it ain't got nothing to do with me. Long as it ain't me or my family or anybody in my circle that I'm with, hey, they can do whatever they need to do, man. I'm trying to get every bit of my all stuff. Shit.
I'm gonna eat
Shit.
my All-Star eggs. Just don't hit me with nothing. Hey, I wonder. Hey, Clay, can you Google and see if they got a Waffle House in Transylvania?
Yeah, no doubt. Let me look on my Waffle House app. I'll look it up.
What's your VIP membership?
Yeah. Hey, I'm platinum elite with them, baby. Hey, when I walk
Oh
in
man.
when I walk in that Jonah,
I do want to say
they give me
this.
plastic. They give me
I'm
plastic
sure.
forks.
I'm sure. So listen, with potentially the 13U age division shifting a little bit until we kind of find out what's really going on with DEA, because after evaluating DEA for the first couple of weeks, I just really thought they were one of the front runners of defending the national championship. Those things may change if these players are no longer available to that team. The landscape of this 13U could really change. One team I just really feel has been dominant from on both sides of the ball, and they're really not usually from this area, is from the Midwest. St. Louis Elite. You were able to look at some of the quarterback plays, some of the defensive plays from the skill positions. Let's just say, and again, until we get to the bottom of this, that DA is no longer part of the 13U national contention. Who would you say would be maybe some top 3 teams that you would look to make some noise pushing towards the YNC in the 13 and under, that you just say, you know what? Some teams that's going to make some noise.
So right off the bat, you got to say West Orlando Jaguars. I think they become the instant front runner if DEA, happens to end up to be no more, right? Then I think, of course, you gotta look at TMT and see, what they've done and where they'll be able to go. And then that third spot, man, it's a toss up between a couple teams, right? That third spot, I think, is very, very close, a lot closer than people think. But if I had to give that third spot to someone else, I would give it to a team that, in my opinion, Jonah, they are terrified of the YNC. There's no shape, form, or fashion they're going to come to the YNC because they know they are successful where they're at and they're not built to win the YNC. And that's the Brick City Lions.
Wow. You just threw a lot of shade at them people, man.
No. I'm not throwing shade. I think people have to understand what they are. Listen, bro, let me tell you something. At one point in my life, I used to be an athlete, but I know where I'm at right now. I'm not finna go race Odell Beckham down the street for no amount of money. It just is what it is. So
I would tell you a team that we have not seen outside yet, but on paper, they look dominant. And from the coaching that I'm used to, the coaching being consistent, I got to include in my top 3 the OG Ducks. Yeah, we haven't seen them yet. They're going to be outside very soon. We'll be able to evaluate them play for play. But I know Coach Keefe coaches a certain brand of football, and he's been pouring a lot into this specific. But if you look at the players on there, OG Ducks 13U is loaded. Of course, front runner in West Orlando. St. Louis, I want to say they're going to be down in Georgia this week. I want to see what St. Louis Elite does because they can maybe pinch their way into it. And this all opens up now, in TMT, what they do defensively. They knocked off some teams. They took a loss as well. They're going to be up in Maryland this weekend as well. So keep an eye on them this Saturday as TMT takes a trip on the East Coast. They'll be about 600 miles from us, but they'll be outside again. And shout out to TMT for taking on so many preseason games. This is not usual of this Lauderdale Lakes team to really get out and play as many games as they are playing. So look for them. They're really trying to get their name out there. They're trying to get their brand out there, which we can appreciate. Again, this show started off about what coaches run the smoke, which ones don't. No slack and no slight against to those guys. Coach Vonnie doing a great job at the TMT, just really getting that team out there. But I like St. Louis Elite. I like, I want to say, the brand of the OG Ducks from what they've done in the past and the players that I know on the team. I expect to be in that top four, man. So, it's going to shake out.
Here's my question for you, Jonah. Is Keefe calling the offense for the OG Ducks on 13U?
Yes, he is.
If Keefe is calling the offense for the OG Ducks on 13U, they got a shot. Now, if it's
Yes.
the same OC they've had the past 2 years
Nah,
I've watched him, and it's
gone.
and it's no shade towards him, but I don't think his offensive scheme is creative enough to get in that top tier on 13U. But if it's Keefe,
Right.
I think they got a shot.
Yeah, so Larry and Mike are kind of taking, I won't say a backseat. They're still those kids. They just put their coaching into other places. And you already know Coach Keefe. If he can't call offense, he ain't coming on your team. He does it with the 10U, the 13U, 14U.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
that. Hey, man, I got the sticks. If I don't got the sticks, I ain't coming. So Keefe's on that, man. So, and the age group we really haven't really jumped on too much is 14U, Clay. I don't, I'm not convinced that 14U as itself has a bright future in youth football. And I say this for a couple of reasons. Even prior to this year, I can count probably on one hand of the states that participate in true 14U football.
I agree.
California,
I agree.
Maryland, North Florida, Vegas, and maybe somewhere in the East Coast, maybe like New Jersey or something like that, or
And
Detroit.
and uh and I think Washington has one or two teams. Doesn't Air normally have a 14U, but they always go AYF, right?
Sometimes they do it, and sometimes it's not consistent, so they don't have a 14U every year.
And
But
then
my challenge is, I'm still.
Mississippi
That's
Wolfpack,
true.
they always have a 14U, and they have found a home that they can win in, where they go now. So yeah,
And so you've pulled me to a whole six teams. Okay,
yep,
so when you're talking about getting the competition level, not playing teams twice, really having some diversity of seeing different footballs. Sometimes you can't fight stuff, Clay. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying 14U is a dying breed, but you got to see the writing on the wall. Um,
it's a dying breed,
and
Jonah.
so
It's
it goes back.
dying.
It goes back to your eighth grade conversation, which would be, yeah, Tennessee. Yeah, you guys can mention it, but again, there's 50 states. I can tell you how many. This is not a hard question. If you had to say how many teams have 6U, you wouldn't be six states, and 6U is an odd number, but 6U probably, I can tell you 20 states that have 6Us right now, all the way up to 13. And 13U is a challenge. You know what I'm saying? So 13U, it's plentiful, yes, but it is a challenge. So right now, as us being where we're at in the position we're at, we really have to look at from 6U to 12U as being really the core of youth football. 13U has become a specialty that, and this year's 13 is good because last year's 12U was so crazy. I think a lot of those kids
Yeah,
wanted to come back and really have another chance at it again. So this year
yeah,
is one of
yeah.
those exceptions. But 14U, I can name you Maryland Heat, Vegas Strong, OG Ducks, Mississippi Wolfpack, Detroit Spartans, and Maryland Seahawks. I don't even know if they're still around. So those are the predominant teams from youth football. And after that, you really got to start digging them up. Osceola Cowboys. So these are the things you got to really start. But there's no 14Us in Texas. There's no 14Us in Georgia. There's hardly any 14Us left in Florida. 13U is stopped. So if you take Florida, Texas, and Georgia out of any youth football category, really kind of weakens your structure. So again, we'll be keeping an eye on it. Well, we still have a 6U to 14U national championship. But man, it's been a challenge. So don't be surprised if this eighth grade thing kind of slides through, man. At 13 years old, you at the 12 years old, you have an eighth grade football team.
And Jonah, here's the thing. I know that there are some pockets in the country where I guess they don't have freshman football or they don't have middle school football, right? So I think that if this whole 14U and 13U combine and just make an eighth grade thing actually happens, which I'm not necessarily saying it's something that we need to push for. I think it's something that may just happen by itself because the way that youth football is evolving, right? I think you're going to have some areas like California where you've got 14U kids that, they might have to do their own little special league, to have somewhere to play because, as you just spoke about, imagine, look at the struggles or look how much Keefe and Les, OG Ducks and OC Buckeyes, and even Rampage. Look how much they had to travel to put together 14U schedules. Look how much
Yeah,
Maryland Heat has to travel to put together a 14U schedule. And those are 3 or 4 programs that always have a 14U every year. They're
right.
faithful to it. But it involves a lot of money and a lot of travel and the kids being out of school a lot. It just becomes
Yeah,
taxing because, like you said, sometimes it's 3 or 4 state jumps in between states that actually have 14U football. That's tough.
right. Yeah. Well, man, Clay, I'm super excited. I take off tomorrow. I'll catch up with you. We'll do the Waffle House in the morning, but then, man, we're gonna
Oh,
find
yeah.
us a spot in the afternoon. You know what I'm saying? Friday night, I'm looking forward to catching Southfield Falcons taking on Rare Breeds. Then those boys will be catching a flight, come joining us up at Carolina, taking on the Division II champs. And man, we got a lot of football. We'll see how many national champs will be in Charlotte this weekend, Clay.
Man, let me look at the list and count. One, two, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 national champions. Nine
Wow.
national champions will be in Charlotte this weekend. That's crazy. That's crazy.
So Charlotte, the city gonna be lit, man. So y'all get us let us know where the hookah spot so Clay can go ahead and check y'all at the hookah spot out. Because he'll come in for some strawberry mint or whatever his flavor is, and some Don Julio. You know what I'm saying? Let us know where the city gonna be lit in Charlotte. We're gonna check y'all out this weekend. But man, we super excited about the football, and for us, for YNC, the first week, this is like our season kickoff. So Clay and I are really amped about it. We've been talking about the preseason teams and all the matchups, but now we get to finally see y'all in person. So, Clay and I'll be out there kissing babies and shaking hands in person, letting y'all know, hey, man, we're trying to watch your football teams. And coaches, just a reminder, man, if ever in doubt, just rewind this and just saying no nuts, no glory, man. Get out there and play some football. You teaching young men how to be men. And, we're not going to keep, we going to keep it uncut over here. We're going to let you know the real. We're never going to sugarcoat it. You dodging smoke, we'll make you pay for it this year in the rankings. Ain't no way around it. We've said it too many times. You'll be on the outside looking in, and there's, like I tell you, there's nothing wrong with playing a national championship in Pensacola somewhere. You won't be down there in Fort Lauderdale chasing those national championship games, man. And let me see that loot. What are we giving out again? Let me see that bread one more time before. Hey, highest scoring teams, you get paid cash
In
this
one
weekend.
game. In one game.
One game.
In one game. So if you have a bad game, you still got 2, maybe 3 more opportunities to win that loot, man. Most
So
points
you
in the
get that
game.
60-point
Team
game.
effort.
You get that 60-point game, you're getting paid. All right, man. So Clay, anything in regards that the coaches need to bring when they come to check in at YNC? What do they need to have in their hands so we don't have somebody trying to fly home to go get their baby ID at the last minute?
So hopefully everybody has everything that they need, right? We had a Zoom call. What was that? Monday night, I believe it was Monday night, and it was maxed out at 100 people between coaches and team moms. So obviously the information's out there. But remember, your players had to been registered in Zorts. Zorts is now closed. It's locked for the event. So if you don't have a player registered, he won't be able to participate in this particular event. Whatever identification you use to get your gold or silver card in the system, you need to have that original hard copy with you at certification because we're going to check the online system, and our certification department needs to be able to look at it, touch it, feel it, make sure it's authentic as well too. Now, if it's 6U, we will accept birth certificates for 6U, and we'll do that hard certification with the original birth certificate. Not a copy, not a picture. It's got to be the original birth certificate at certification, and that also applies for people that live in specific states where by law they cannot get a ID, under a certain age, right? Coaches, make sure that you are in the Zort system, right? In the Zort system, as a coach, the background check has been completed. Zorts has reviewed it and approved everything. I know I got a couple backgrounds that I needed to review earlier today. I reviewed them, sent them back to Zort, so I'm sure Cassandra will get that all cleared up if she hasn't yet. If you're not in the Zort system, you will not gain field access. The beautiful thing about this venue, Jonah, is that we get to regulate field access by the way that it's set up. So you won't have field access unless you have on the appropriate band. It's already too late for media. So if your media team or your media person has not submitted their media credentials for approval, they will have to shoot from behind the fence. They will not be allowed inside the gameplay field, to shoot. So these are the things we need to remember. Most importantly, whatever your game time is in Zorts, your certification window is 90 minutes before that kickoff. So again, like we talked about in the Zoom call meeting, 90 minutes before that kickoff. Showcase games or four-quarter regulation games with all special teams, and then your bracket play games or 10-minute running quarter games, right? With all special teams, and then kickoffs is at the beginning of the game and the beginning of second half. So be mindful of that, guys. If you have any questions, thoughts, or concerns, give me a shout. Listen, I've been getting a lot of phone calls, so I would recommend shoot me a text. You're more likely to get me on the phone back via text than a phone call, because tomorrow, man, I got a lot to do. Me and Ricky got to pick up staff from the airport. We got to go set up the fields. We got to make sure logistically everything is in place so you guys can have a fabulous time when you touch down here in Charlotte, man. The YNC, you know what it is. Let's go, baby.
All right. Well, listen, we always spend the last 3 minutes with Q&A before we go ahead and sign off before midnight. Any questions that you guys want to shoot before we get out of here? How many coaches are allowed on the football field, Clay?
So every team has 10 sideline access bands. 10. Whether if it's the coach, whether if it's the team mom, the water boy, the ball boy, the org president, the league president, the head coach's sixth baby mama, whatever it is, you only get 10. So the head coach plus 9 people. So head coach, choose your 9 most important people, and then those are the only people that's getting field access, right? Now, if your media team turned in their credentials, they don't go into that 10. If your media team didn't turn in those credentials, you might have to replace one of your coaches with one of those media team people.
All right. Will there be DMV showcase in bracket style in DMV?
In every event that we have, right? So here in Charlotte, we've got 3 fields, 1 field for showcase, 2 fields for bracket play. Houston, we were just going to have 3 fields, but we've got so many teams trying to get in it. I opened up a 4th field, so we'll have a showcase field. We'll have 3 bracket play fields. And then the same concept in DMV, 4 fields, 1 showcase field, 3 bracket play fields. In the Houston and DMV events, we're going to have 50 to 55 teams in each one of those events alone because we had to open up the 4 fields.
Absolutely. So that looks like a short question in